Alrighty, good morning, boys and girls. Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Good. We're going to do a fun story time today, and I actually have an audience behind me today that are going to participate with me. We have a few friends that are here at school today. Today we're going to do a really silly story time about... What is this? It's a really silly hat, isn't it? Is anybody else wearing a hat today?
Not me.
Not you? Well, I have some hats that I can pass out to my friends here. If you're at home, go ahead and go grab a hat so you can use it during our story time. But before we do our story time, boys and girls, what do we need to do? Stand up. Everybody stand up. Stand up. Okay. Everybody reach up way in the sky. Reach, reach, stretch. High, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low. All right, reach over to the side and stretch. Can you do that for me, Riley? Stretch. And reach over to the other side and stretch. Oh, very, very good. Okay, now let's get those wiggles out. Are you ready?
Ready.
Remember, what does this mean? Stop. 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait. Whoa, you guys are good. Okay, you ready? One more time. 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait. Stop. Good job, you guys. Okay, now I want you to repeat after me. Ready? Me. Beautiful. Hands go up and hands go down. I can turn myself around. I can stand on one shoe. I can listen, so can you. I can sit, I'll show you how. Story time is starting now. Okay, so our first book, boys and girls, like I said, I have all these hats that I'm going to show you. What kind of a hat is this?
A magician's hat.
A magician's hat. Who knows what a magician is?
He does magic.
He does magic, you're right. Oh, do we have any, watch this magic trick, ready? It's empty, see? There's nothing in my hat. A carrot! That's not magic? You saw me put...
No, you just turned around and you picked
Oh,
it.
man, you guys are too smart. All right, well, it might not be a real magician hat, but my first story has to do with a real magician hat. Are you ready? Okay. It's called The Magician's Hat, and it's written by Malcom Mitchell, and it's illustrated by Joan Lou Vrietoff. I'm not sure if I said that right. Here's the man who wrote the book. He actually was a famous basketball player, I believe. There he is. So he wrote our story for us, The Magician's Hat. Family Fun Day at the library was filled with exciting events. Book scavenger hunts, storytelling, reading rallies. Today, for the first time, a magician arrived with a bag of tricks and a big hat. Everyone gathered around to see the magician perform. He bent a spoon just by looking at it. He made playing cards float in front of his nose. The magician could even make a coin appear from a puppy's ear. When he waved his wand, a banana vanished. This was just the warm-up act. Now the magician was ready to dazzle the crowd with his favorite trick of all. The magician's magic started with a story. When I was a kid, my mom and dad brought me to this library on Family Fun Day. During the book scavenger hunt, I wandered into the reading room. Got all those books. You have to have a ladder to get all the way up to those top ones. There were hundreds of books. Books about dogs, books about planes, books about the sun, flowers, rain, cities, and circus dancers. Out of the hundreds of books, one special book jumped out at me. It was a book about magic.
I read and I read and I read every single word on every single page. I discovered that book wasn't just about magic. I learned that books are magic. Even though I was still in the library, those pages and words took me places I had always dreamed of going. This is how I knew I wanted to become a magician when I grew up. Soon after that, I got my magician's hat. The Family Fun Day crowd had grown. Kids from all over town were eager to see more of the magician's magic. He asked them, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Amy shouted, "I want to be a dentist." The magician invited Amy to reach inside his hat. Amy dug deep, then deeper until she felt something. It's a book," Amy shouted. The magician asked, "What is your book about?" "My book's about teeth, cleaning teeth, and fixing teeth, and x-rays." Right away, like magic, Amy saw herself holding a dental tools, a toothbrush, and a rinsing cup. But in the library where everyone could see, Amy was hugging her book and smiling. Matt had been watching closely. After seeing Amy's magic, he wondered, what else is in that hat? He called out, "I want to be a famous football player." So she wanted to be a dentist, so she pulled a book out about dentists. If he wants to be a football player, what do you think, what kind of book is he going to pull out of the hat? Maybe a football book, I don't know. And so the magician offered Matt his hat. "Let's see what magic you can find inside." Matt reached in, way down. There was something that couldn't fit into just one hand. Matt plunged both hands into the hat and pulled. It's a book about football. It even has my name on it. All at once, like magic, Matt was on the field, running, tackling, catching, punting, sometimes fumbling, sometimes falling, lots of times winning. Ryan called out from the back of the crowd, "Wait a second. This is not magic. Amy's and Matt's parents must have told the magician what they want to be when they grow up." The magician asked Ryan, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" This was Ryan's chance to prove that the magician was a fake. He snickered and said, "A dog." Do you think he really wants to be a dog? No, he's trying to prove this magician wrong. This hat, he thinks that this hat is just baloney. The magician asked Ryan to reach into his hat. Ryan said, "I can't feel anything." Sometimes you must really reach and stretch for what you want to be. That is part of the magic. Ryan reached deeper and deeper until his fingers grabbed onto something. He clutched a beautiful book that had nothing to do with dogs. Its pages were filled with letters and paintings and photos and foldouts, stars, planets, rocket ships. Wow, look at those planets. Look at that rocket ship. Ryan had always dreamed of becoming an astronaut and exploring the wide open sky, hurtling out into space and zooming to a far-off galaxy. "Whoa," Ryan whispered. "How did you do that?" "I am not doing anything," the magician said. "You are." "I am?" asked Ryan. "But there's got to be a secret trick in those books." The desires that are within you bring out the magic in these books. Follow your dreams and they will take you wherever you want to go. So he didn't want to become a dog. What did he really want to become? An astronaut. The magician turned his hat so that everyone could see inside. What are your dreams? That question made all kinds of magic appear. Look who I found. I found Miss Perla. Hi. She is going to do the next song with us, and we're going to do some sign language with it. So this is hat, okay? Everybody can do that. Just put your hands together like this, like an upside down V. And then 3, and this means corner. Okay, so delete that last one. Okay, ready? My hat, it has 3 corners. 3 corners has my hat. And had it not 3 corners, it would not be my hat. Okay, yay! Thank you, Miss Perla.
Yes.
My hat, it has 3 corners. 3 corners has my hat. And had it not 3 corners, it would not be my hat. All right, now we're gonna make this even more challenging. Are you ready? We're gonna take out the word hat. Ready? Miss Perla looks a little scared. My, it has 3 corners. 3 corners has my, and had it not 3 corners, it would not be my. You want to? This is called Miss Honey's Hat, and it's written and illustrated by Pat Adams. Now look at this beautiful hat that Miss Honey has on. Look at that hat. All those things in that hat. Let's see what's on Miss Honey's hat. Miss Honey had a hat. On Monday, she wore it when she took her grandson Peter to the park. She bought him some bubble gum and sat on a bench with her knitting. He's blowing a big bubble. Peter thought, those feathers would make my arrows fly better. So he pulled the feathers off the hat and his bubble gum stuck to the brim. Oh no. But Mrs. Honey didn't notice. On Tuesday, Mrs. Honey wore her hat to visit a friend. They sat in the garden in the shade of a tree and ate cakes. They're having a tea party. Whose hat do you like better, Miss Honey's or her friend's? I think I like Miss Honey's. It's a little crazier. Some birds flew down to pick up the crumbs. Oh, those cherries look good. Chirp, chirp, they chirped. So they flew off with them. One little bird left some eggs behind. But Mrs. Honey didn't notice. Oh my goodness, she has eggs in her hat now. On Wednesday, Mrs. Honey spent a day at the seaside. The sun shone and the water was just right for paddling. Mrs. Honey felt very happy. Afterwards, Mrs. Honey took off her hat and sat in the sun. A hermit crab thought, that shell would make a nice new home. He scuttled away with the shell and left behind some seaweed. But Mrs. Honey didn't notice. She was taking a nap, and look, the hermit crab took the shell and left some seaweed. Oh boy, it looks like our friend right here needs to put on some sunscreen, am I right? Oh boy. On Thursday, Mrs. Honey picked dandelions to make wine. It was very hard work. She took off her hat and put it on the fence. That cow was looking at her. A cow in the field saw the hat on the fence. What beautiful big buttercups, she mooed. She took a mouthful and her bell fell off onto Mrs. Honey's hat. But Mrs. Honey didn't notice. On Friday, Mrs. Honey went to see an old castle. Just look at those cobwebs, exclaimed Mrs. Honey. This place could do with a good clean. Look, doesn't that kind of look like Nala? A big black spider dropped onto her hat. Ooh, hurrah, he said. This lace will make a good, strong cobweb. So he hurried away with the lace and left behind all his old webs. So he's leaving real spider webs on her hat. But Mrs. Honey didn't notice. Look who did notice, though. She's going, On Saturday, Mrs. Honey took her cat to a cat show. There were all sorts of fine cats, but she hoped that hers would win first prize. Which cat do you like the best? That one's cute. This one, I think they're all cute. Oh, I like this one, a little fuzzy. An alley cat saw Mrs. Honey's hat through the window. That ribbon might help me win first prize, he thought. So he pulled it from the hat and he left behind some fish bones.
Ugh. But Mrs. Honey didn't notice. I bet those fish bones are stinky, too. On Sunday, Mrs. Honey went to church. Everyone seemed to be staring at her. Whatever can it be? She wondered. Perhaps it's time that I bought a new hat. After the service, Miss Honey hurried home to look in the mirror. Then she noticed the bubble gum. What's that? Eggs. Does anybody remember what that is? What the hermit crab left behind? Seaweed. The cowbell. The cobwebs and the fish bones. Goodness, she exclaimed. I've got a new hat, don't I? But she wasn't sure she liked it. Do you like that hat? I think it looks pretty cool, pretty crazy. And look at all these different things that were on her hat. So see, you don't have to do normal things on a hat. You can do kind of crazy stuff too. And I'll show you what I did with the group today when we made our crazy hats. It was really fun. Okay, now we have a silly hat song with my silly hat that I want to show you guys. Do you guys have a hat at home that you can pull out and do the song with me? I know it probably won't be this silly. Maybe you do, I don't know. But here is the silly hat song. All right. On my head, I wear my hat. It is such a silly hat that my head will wiggle waggle to and fro. Where else can my silly hat go? Where else should I put my silly hat? How about on my hand? On my hand, I wear my hat. It is such a silly hat that my hand will wiggle waggle to and fro. Where else can my silly hat go? Where else should I put my silly hat? On my knee? Oh boy, that's silly. On my knee, I wear my hat. It is such a silly hat that my knee will wiggle waggle to and fro. Where else can my silly hat go? Where else can we put it? On my belly? Are you sure? Okay. On my belly, I wear my hat. It is such a silly hat that my belly will wiggle waggle to and fro. Where else can my silly hat go? What if I put it on my foot? That is silly. Look, oh my goodness, look at that. On my shoe, I wear my hat. It is such a silly hat that my foot will wiggle waggle to and fro. Where else can my silly hat go? Where else should I put it? Oh dear, it's stuck on my foot. Where else can I put it? On my elbow? Let's do that. Can you put your hat on your elbow too? On my elbow, I wear my hat. It is such a silly hat that my elbow will wiggle waggle to and fro. Where else can my silly hat go? Did you just say on my nose? That is so silly. Okay, here we go. You gotta put yours on your nose too. On my nose, I wear my hat. It is such a silly hat that my nose will wiggle waggle to and fro. Where else will my silly hat go? Let's see. I'll put it right over here. Did you like that? You guys can do that with other parts of your body too. Or you can even do it on different stuffed animals or whatever you want to do. Okay, so that was a fun story time having to do with all different types of hats. And now, a fun activity that you can do at home would be to make your own silly hat. And I will show you what we did this morning with my group of friends that are here at school today. And I'll show you their silly hat designs. Maybe they can inspire you to do something silly. And you don't need a lot of stuff at home to do it. You can really use stuff that you have at your house. And I'll send you guys some links or pictures of different ideas on how you can do homemade hats. I hope you guys have a great day. And the last thing that we do on our story time is our goodbye song. So we need to stand up again. And if you want, you can wear your hat while you do it. Actually, I think I will wear this hat while I do it. Ready? Tickle the stars, tickle your toes. Turn around and tickle your nose. Reach way down low, reach way up high. Story time's over, now wave goodbye. Bye friends. I miss you all and I love you. I'll see you soon. Okay, so we have our hats, our magician hats that we are gonna decorate. Can you tell me about the things that you have